This is Two Blokes Talking Electric Cars with Trevor Long and Stephen Fennick. Thanks to NRMA Insurance and Uniden.
That's right, thanks to NRMA, helping Australians protect what matters most for almost 100 years. NRMA Insurance is one of the largest insurers of electric vehicles in Australia, and we appreciate their support. So if you've got an EV and you're looking for insurance, give them a call, and they'll try and help you out, as they have done for almost 100 years. And of course, Uniden smart dash cams. If you've got a brand new car, why don't you have a dash cam?
Even an older car.
Doesn't matter. If you're spending money on insurance, you should be spending money on a dash cam, not because it does anything specific other than give you peace of mind.
Yes.
And Exhibit A. So that you can really well describe and potentially present as evidence to the police or your insurer exactly what happened and fight the good fight for you in whatever happens to your car. So front and rear, Uniden's got you covered with a range of different dash cams for every price point, frankly.
Award-winning dash cams.
So check them out. Check out Uniden, one of the best names in dash cams. Stephen, great to be with you, mate.
Good to be here too, Trev. Big show this today. There's a lot
We've
to
got a lot to get
discuss.
to. If you want to be part of the show, 0477 657 657. We appreciate you getting in touch. You can send us a text or a WhatsApp. We'll get you on the show. If you want to talk EVs, if you've got a thought about EVs, you want to whinge about EVs, I don't mind, whatever.
We are your knowledge base.
We're happy to...
We're the knowledge base for you guys.
And if we don't know it, we'll find someone who does. That's what we'll do, because it helps us. If we don't know the answer, then we'll find the answer, and that helps us and you and everyone listening.
Yes.
So get in touch. We'll get to your calls shortly. But, Stephen, we have been driving a lot of cars, and we need to get back to talking about them. And I think one of the ones that we had a few weeks ago now was the Dpal S07.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I described this almost brutally in my review as the Temu Tesla. It looks like a Model Y by shape and by concept in many ways, but it's not quite as refined as a Tesla. But do you know what? Not a bad offering overall.
The design is quite good.
Yep.
It is eye-catching, as is the colour. Like we had the sunset orange colour, so that's going to stand out. There are other bold colours as well. You can actually get cosmic yellow, which looks more green to me. As well as celestial blue. So the colours are quite bold.
Yeah. It's a $58,500 car.
Yeah.
Which is spot on with a Tesla Model Y. And my question to Dpal and to anyone who buys one is, do you hate Elon that much that you're willing to spend the same amount of money on a different car that you maybe don't know about?
Maybe.
That unknown of a new car brand is a real challenging thing. You're trying to crack into a market like Australia.
And this is a Chinese brand, isn't it?
Absolutely,
from China.
yeah.
And again, they're just trying to gain a foothold, as other brands are trying to do. But I've got to say, first impression was good. And driving, very smooth. And the 15.6-inch touchscreen, what they call the floating
and it also, you can angle it to you, couldn't you? Yeah, I like that.
So really nice and spacious inside as well. But for the driver, and you've already spoken about this, it says on their website it's protective, deeply protective. I say overly protective. And I remember the first thing you said to me when you handed it over, you're going to be calling me within 10 minutes if I don't explain something to you, and
how to turn it off.
Explanation with turning off the cameras.
We're just going back to all the ADAS stuff, the driver alert systems. Yeah. Are you tired? Are you speeding? Have you had a drink lately? I mean, do you need to go to the bathroom?
But this would even react quite sharply, even if you look down at the screen.
Oh, no, I'm just going to change the radio station.
Where am I supposed to look? Yeah. And they'll go,
you're the one that put the big 15-inch screen there. Am I not allowed to touch it? Yeah. Look, but don't touch,
Yeah, that was annoying. But
here's the thing about Dpal. Out of respect, they've embraced this. I think one of the big publications, might have been Drive, someone like that, called it Australia's most annoying car. During the Melbourne Motor Show, they ran a full-page ad in the Drive lift-out of the Age and Herald saying, is this Australia's most annoying car? Like, they've embraced that label. Now, there is some word that they're going to talk about maybe bringing this down a level in future software updates.
Yeah.
But, when you now, like, I look at it and go, I respect the driver safety regulations. I respect the 5-car ANCAP stuff. But we've driven enough cars just in the last few months to know there are levels at which this can be done.
But there are ways to achieve what this has achieved. We'll talk about the Z car in a upcoming show.
Yeah.
there are ways to achieve what they've done a little bit more subtle way of doing it.
Yeah.
Still giving you the warning, but not sort of beating you over the head with it.
That's exactly the problem. Is it is a beating over the head for this. It's over,
which
as
Trevor
you say,
loves.
The punishment for the crime does not fit.
Yeah, absolutely. No, the biggest thing for me was looking at the screen, and you're getting a warning. You just don't be distracted. I'm thinking, I'm looking at the screen
because I feel like in an alert sense. I mean, I want an alert if I'm veering out of the lane. If I'm looking like I've fallen asleep and I'm veering out of the lane, I want every volume. I want the whole box and dice. But if I've looked at the screen for half a second to change the radio station, just give me a little subtle tap on the shoulder. You know,
it's quite a sharp sound that it plays, doesn't it? And on the screen as well.
I also think that, and this is true of many cars. To be honest, too many cars. Yeah. There's too much software. There's too many settings.
There's a lot,
Okay, it's so hard to find how to adjust the mirrors.
But
it's so hard to find how to adjust things. But this is also, you got to remember, we are reviewing these cars for a week each.
Yeah.
In a week, sometimes you pick up everything. Sometimes you don't have time to pick up everything. As an owner, you'll get a better handover than we do because we just get handed a key and there's the car. See you later.
Yeah.
As an owner, you're going to get instructions on things. You're going to learn things. But I think if you're trying to sell a car, it needs to be something you can get in and go, I might adjust the mirror. And, well, how do you do that?
Yeah,
like,
it's all through the screen.
It shouldn't be that hard.
I think what you said, the Temu Tesla, it's all through the screen. Like a Tesla, it's all through the screen.
Yeah.
Shall we talk about some of the EV aspects of this?
Sure.
It does have, I think it's 11 kilowatt of AC charging maximum.
Yep.
The actual size of the car It's not. Would you call this a mid-size SUV?
It is classed as a mid-size SUV.
It's 4750, so 4.75 meters, 1930 wide. Has a 2.9 meter wheelbase as well. Can seat 5.
Yep.
Moving on to our driving stats here, if I can find them. Range, I think, is 475 kilometers.
Okay.
And I've already mentioned it's 11 kilowatt. AC, so if you got your wall charger at home, it's going to do 11 kilowatts.
11 kilowatt,
well. So.
Single phase, it'll do 7.2. Three phase, it'll do your full 11 kilowatts. You're looking at a 30-hour charge on a power point, and about 11 hours on a 32 amp wall box at home. And you'll do a 60. At a fast charger, 100 kilowatt plus, you do a 60-minute 0 to 80 charge time.
And it can move 0 to 100 in 7.9 seconds. So that's the... Is there a dual mode? This is a single...
No, I'm pretty sure they're only doing the one...
Just the one model?
One variant.
So there's no dual motor model? So 7.9, that suggests it's one rear-wheel drive.
Yeah, it does offer vehicle to load, so, PowerPoint option if you want to power something from the car.
And there's no indication whether it's upgradable to vehicle to grid.
No, there's no indication from the stats that I've got,
Okay.
Look,
S07.
I don't mind it. It's not a bad car.
I like the look of it. I've got to say, you're right though. They've tried. It looks like a Model 3, an SUV Model 3 ripoff.
It looks like a Model Y.
Yeah, but I mean the lights and all that. The lights look just like a Model 3.
I love the angular, bold styling of it.
Yeah, it's
I'm
nice.
a big fan.
Yeah, I don't mind it. Glass roof too. Hey, glass roof.
Here's the thing, and I want to say this to every car company. Can we put key rings on our keys, please?
What's with that?
Like what? It's a funny shaped little diamondy shaped key.
What is with that? Well, it looks like the logo. So the logo is that sort of that shape.
What the hell?
Yeah.
You can't attach your house key to it.
It's really annoying.
Now, if you've gone fully digital, then maybe that's cool because you've got a fingerprint lock at home. But people have car keys.
Was there an app you could download for this as well?
I think there was, and the problem is, again, as a reviewer, we don't get access to that stuff.
To the app,
I think this was the one actually that I went to log in, and it said there's no record of you buying the car. So my email address wasn't registered, as an owner.
Okay.
So there was a hard no from them.
Righto.
Look, not a bad vehicle, worth a test drive for sure. But I would
roomy too. 5 people sit
personally
easily in it.
For this money, taking an EV5 from Kia every day of the week. Some people would choose a Tesla.
58
on
the road.
Yeah. I'm taking a Tesla. I'm taking a Tesla or an EV5 without question.
Dpal, brand new brand though, This is their first vehicles they've offered in Australia.
That's right.
And all EVs. They don't make anything but EVs.
That's it. That's all they're doing.
Dpal.
All right, let us know what you think. If you've driven the Dpal or you own the Dpal, get in touch, 0477
Tell us about it.
657 657. Now, last week on the show, we had Greg on who owned a Genesis and was worried about long-term
Yes.
parking at the airport. He was
So the
going to, I
battery
think,
degradation.
Vietnam for 3 months.
Yes.
He was worried about whether or not, and even at 100%, it would last 3 months sitting there. So I reached out.
Because the issue is if your battery goes to zero,
Yeah.
it takes a while to get it out of zero.
Oh, yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Like if you go to fully dead.
It's a nightmare.
It's like if you haven't turned on a tablet or a phone for a year, you plug it in and
You've
you
got
don't see
10 minutes
anything
of
for
fear.
hours. Yeah. You're thinking, wow. So imagine that for your car.
Yeah. So I reached out to. In fact, rather than us reading it out here, let's just ring Greg.
Let's ring him, mate.
give him the response that we got.
Yeah.
From Genesis. So I mean,
Let's hope he
see if he
answers.
answers. So live. You're live. Joining us live.
Live call.
Hey, is that Greg?
Yeah.
Greg, Trevor Long and Stephen Finnick.
Hey,
How you doing, mate? You
How
are
you doing?
live on the podcast. We're already recording, my friend.
Oh, hi guys.
Mate, good to have you back. I was saying to Stephen, I thought we'd just ring you and tell you anyway. I reached out to Genesis on your behalf after last week's call, and I want to just share the response with you, if that's all right.
All right, thanks.
So because I said to them, exactly what I said to you. I said, "Is there something you can do? Some settings, whatever."
Yeah.
The response is very, very simple, mate. The vehicle should be fine when travelling overseas for 3 months. Please ensure the car is locked and keys are kept away from the vehicle. And they also added, we recommend leaving the vehicle parked with around 70% range.
Okay.
So
Oh, right.
70% battery charge.
that's interesting because I was like, oh, mate, I'd just charge. If it was me, I'd be charging to 100 and then rolling the dice. But yeah, because I've had a couple. I think I had a couple of SMSs as well from people saying, it's not recommended to leave it at 100. I don't know why that would be, to be honest, other than a battery sitting at 100 depletes differently. I don't know, Greg, but I feel like you've got good news there, mate. You can take the trip with confidence.
Oh, thanks for that. Yeah, I joined a EV60 forum over in the US actually, and some of the feedback from there was that lose the most amount in the first week, and then it goes sort of sleep mode or something.
Maybe
makes
that's why they
sense.
don't want you to charge to 100.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It also makes sense as to why some people have been away. Like you might have been away for a week. You went away for 6 weeks, but you go away for a week, and which actually also, that last week we said to you, mate, test it for a weekend, So actually, the calculations of what even leaving it for a week and doing a calculation might put you in fear of how long it will last. But in fact, based on what you've heard from overseas and now what we hear from Genesis, mate, it sounds like you can enjoy your holiday.
Hey, great. Thanks very much for that.
No worries, mate. Happy to help, mate. Thanks again for getting in touch with us.
Take care, buddy.
No worries. Thank you.
Good on you, Greg. Enjoy the trip, mate. Enjoy the trip and enjoy the car.
Live, we're delivering answers.
We don't muck around
How
here.
good's that?
I mean, there's no point in me sitting on the email answer, is there?
There you go. See, we do the homework for you.
If we can find an answer to a question we don't have an answer for.
But you know what? That's a good learning there because the not being at 100 and coming in at 70. I reckon if you went to 100, it's like when when back in the day when I used to drive a petrol car, you fill I'd never fill my car up to completely full because that would burn off faster because the car's heavier.
That is a wild thing to think.
Well,
it's broadly true, but for
like
in a Formula One car, yes, but in a passenger car, I don't know if 3 kilos is going to matter.
That extra weight of the car, it's going to make that top bit of fuel burn faster. That was in my mind anyway. But on the EV side, having it to 100, that's what's going to drain faster.
And it's also fascinating that it's probably draining faster because in that first week or so, it's the car thinks the car's always poised, ready to go. I'm waiting. I'm waiting for you to come. And that's why they say keep the keys away because you don't want the car to think the keys are nearby and you're coming anytime soon.
Yes.
And it sounds like from what he's learned in the forums that over the course of a week or so, the car goes, you know what? I don't think he's coming back for a while, so I might just go into
hibernation.
Rather than check every 2 seconds, I might check every 10 seconds for the key. Do you know what I mean? I bet also when he comes back to the car, it's different. Like instead of just walking up to it and unlocking, I bet you have to press the unlock key.
But
something like that.
Don't you reckon it'd be an idea for car manufacturers, EV car manufacturers, to have like a deep sleep mode?
Like Tesla has theirs, Sentry mode, their dog mode, their child pet mode, all those different modes. I think it would be good to have
travel mode, just put it to sleep, hibernation mode or something.
Long-term car park mode,
Yeah.
Call it EMU mode. It's EMU, the car park at Sydney Airport. Long-term car park.
Yeah, I reckon the hibernation mode, make it hibernation or deep sleep or something like that so that it's obvious that you're not going to be driving the car for weeks at a time and the car knows that, the battery's conditioned for that. It's,
I think it's a good suggestion.
What's the saying? The squeaky wheel gets the oil. We talk about it enough, they'll think, okay, we should do something.
We better talk about it a lot then.
There you go.
All right, that's great. Good to have a response and good learning for all of us. And look, that was a response from Genesis. That's about a Genesis car, but I would guess that it's very similar for a range of cars.
The rules would apply to other cars.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure. Yeah.
Two Blokes Talking Electric Cars. Thanks to NRMA and Union. We'll be back after this with your calls. 0477. I was going to say a different number. 0477 657 657. Get in touch. We'll get you on the show. I just realised through the magic of, podcast creation.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes, and we don't get emails about this, but I'm pretty sure people would watch and go, he had his glasses on, and now they're off, and now they're off, and now they're on. Like, between
no
edits.
For me, mate.
Yeah, well, that's because you're a fiend for contact lenses. But
now recent.
I just realised I wasn't, and now I am. Don't worry, it's fine, folks.
Continuity is just out the window.
It's out the window. It's not bloody Quentin Tarantino here. It's a YouTube. Two Blokes Talking Electric Cars. We'd love to hear from you. 0477 657 657. David's on the line. G'day, David.
G'day, Trevor.
Mate.
How are you guys?
We're very well.
Mate.
Where are you at in your world of EV, buddy?
Thinking into the whole world. Bit of a have not bought an EV yet. But
Right. So what's on your hit list, mate? What are you looking at? What's your criteria?
performance is the main thing, I think. Kind of feel like a bit of a being a petrol head, be it a Holden from way back.
Shout out to Telstra for the mobile coverage at your office, by the way. It's still horrible.
Shocking, sorry.
But you're a Holden
Sorry,
man.
guys.
Performance is important. But you don't have an
Yes.
EV. Well, mate, you're dead to me because I'm a Holden man, and I just don't think performance is important. No, I do. Look, let me be clear, and I've said this a few times about stuff, but I think when we say performance, I think the drivability of a car is far more important than its ability to go 0 to 100. But I feel,
That's
David,
what you think.
But I feel, David, you're leaning in the 0 to 100 camp.
I am, but the handling also important. Yeah.
Okay, so
You know,
you
coming
want
from
something.
yeah.
You want something that's going to pin you back into your seat. Is that right, David?
I do, and something that'll stick to the road.
So, what are you looking at? Is Tesla high on your list there?
It seems like Tesla. Yeah, I mean, been doing a bit of, been told build quality not so good on the Teslas.
Yeah, but it's improved
I'm
over the
gonna
years.
stand up and help defend Tesla here.
It's improved over the years.
Mate, 10, 15 years ago, they were a strange car with some big panel gaps and all that kind of stuff. But today, they are a refined car company with far better standards. And you know what? No, they're not a Mercedes standards. Probably not even Polestar standards. But I don't think that they are far off or around Kia and Hyundai when it comes to build quality. So it's a big thing for me to say.
I had a Model S 7 years ago, a 2017 Model S that I drove. And I was coming off a Mercedes, and that was fine. It still looked good.
That's an owner. That's like saying, "Come look at the baby," and then people are like, "Whoa!" Do you know what I mean? They're not going to tell you. You're not going to tell me it's an ugly baby.
I was fussy. I looked at every aspect of it, and it was great. It was perfect, and that was 2018.
I think what we're saying is don't let the reports of build quality put you off.
Yeah.
I think. Have you driven one yet? Have you test driven one?
No, I'm booked in for a test ride in a couple of weeks. The Model 3, the Model 3 Performance. But after a few mates who are auto electricians, and they're like, I don't know about the build quality. So they recommend that I look at something Chinese or Korean. But the performance isn't quite as good as the Tesla 3 Performance. The figures.
We're going to be talking about the Z car in the next week or so. The Z car is it the
Model X,
Zeekr X dual motor that moved that went.
It also had pretty nimble handling too.
Yeah, very nice handling, and that was snappy performance.
The smart #3 Brabus,
that went too.
Had a rocket launch mode.
Yeah, that did.
Remember, David,
I did hear that.
When are you going to use this 0 to 100? You're going to use it to impress your mates, especially those auto electricians. You're going to use it to fang off the line. You're not going to notice day to day if it's 2.3 seconds or 3.5. I'm telling you, you won't notice a difference, right?
It's true. Look, I'm coming out of a A45S.
Okay.
So, and I kind of drive it like a grandpa. I am not foot flat. I just want that power there. When I need it, I'm spoiled.
Yeah,
it's horrible.
Fair enough. No, my Model S, I think that went 0 to 100 in 3.4 seconds or something. It was crazy. But I can remember one morning getting a software update and it went faster. The software update made it 0.2 seconds faster. I'm thinking, wow.
Yeah. Mate, have you driven any EVs yet?
No.
So,
no.
Here's what I want you to do. I want you to set aside that weekend or that day that you've got the test drive schedule. I want you to go to a BYD. I want you to go to a Kia.
Yes.
And one of the Chinese brands that's around, like a Dpal or a Zeekr or whatever you can find, right? Yep. And I want you to drive several cars in one day because I genuinely think, because I'm like you, I want under my foot, I want to be able to go. I want to be able to dart in something, go around something, whatever, right? I want that. I've never not had that in any electric car because every electric car has instant torque. It's just a matter of how much of it has and puts down. And I think if you drove a Kia EV5, right, and you put it in sport mode while you're doing the test drive, just put it in sport mode, and then you plant your foot, you're going to be like, oh, my God.
Yeah.
It's not going to be Model 3 performance numbers, but it's still going to feel as good as nearly anything else you've ever put your foot down on.
I'll tell you now, when I went from my Tesla Model S to my Mercedes that I'm driving now, I've got the EQE 350. So I went from having the Model S, which was stupid fast, off the mark, to the Merc, which was 0 to 100 in 7 seconds. And I got to say, I don't miss it. I really couldn't tell the difference. We're still fast enough off the line, but that couple of seconds was, didn't really matter. Yeah. But, each to their own, if that's what you want, if that's what you're after.
The test drives are going to be critical, mate, because I think that in your head, the appeal of the 3-odd seconds is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And it will feel great. But I think once you then drive a couple of others, you'll feel the difference between something that has no punch but it's still electric and therefore is still responsive, and something that at least tries to punch with a sport mode like a Kia. And I think you'll be pretty impressed by some of the other stuff on the market. And it's also going to come down to your love of the actual car as well, because the interior of the Tesla is completely minimalist, tech-based, whereas a Kia is more like a traditional car with a dabble of
with
tech.
the BYD and all the others too.
Those indicators on the Tesla. I don't know.
What indicators?
I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
I've driven behind enough to know they don't work.
Well, but you know what? We've spoken to a lot of people on this show who they want a Tesla because it's a Tesla.
Yeah.
They want that experience. They want to have that space age futuristic experience, and that might be you. But there are alternatives. As Trev was saying, drive other cars before you make your mind up, because you'll find that there's a lot more out there to consider.
Yeah. So that's your challenge, David. Your challenge, as assigned by Trevor and Stephen, is to drive a few cars. Text us once you've done a few, and then we'll report back and hear from you,
We'll talk
okay?
to you again, and we want to hear your feedback and whether you've changed your tune about the performance or whether you're stuck to your guns.
And I'll be disappointed if you haven't driven at least three cars, including the Tesla.
Yep.
Okay?
Okay. No, fair enough.
And
challenge accepted, fellas.
All right,
I will.
Good luck with it. Good luck, David.
Good on you, David.
All right.
See you, buddy.
Thanks, Trevor. Thanks, Stephen.
No worries.
Bye.
Good on you, mate. Cheers. Look, and we should apologise. It was a little bit patchy there. We spoke to him before we started recording. We tried to get into a better spot. It was actually better at the end. I think he walked through the office like everyone.
Maybe.
I feel like he walked through the office and just everyone was looking at him like, who are you talking to? But Telstra in the CBD of Melbourne. But anyway, we try to make it better.
He's on Telstra talking about Tesla. It's a bit of a tongue twister.
I know. I often make that mistake, sadly. But look, I think that's a really interesting. I'm actually really intrigued to hear back from him, because I think if you've got in your mind that you want the Tesla or you want a feature of the Tesla, if you don't try something else, you're not.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's a lot of money to spend not test driving a car.
I reckon it's important, though, and I like how he's approaching it, because if you know what you want, if there's a few non-negotiables, the features you want, it makes it easy to find the car.
And look, I'm not suggesting that he should not want for that 0 to 100 performance. Yeah. I'm just suggesting that the human body detecting the difference between 3.2 and 5.2.
Yeah. Like I said, I went from my Tesla to my Merc. My Merc is like 0 to 100 in 7 seconds. Didn't make a world of difference.
Yeah. So and look, I have this fascination with people who, well, let's use the Toyota Corolla for an example. It's just such a top-selling car.
Yeah.
There's people that just buy, when their Corollas at the end of life, they get another one, and they don't even test drive a Hyundai i30 or something from another brand.
Pick and stick.
Because, but I feel like you're missing out on potentially more features, potentially better quality in something else.
Yeah.
But
is that right? Is that how you approach life too, mate? How much variety do you like in your life, mate? Let's talk about your diet and that. Like
okay, it's not the same as food.
Practice what you preach, mate. You know,
it's not the same as food.
Ultimate pick and sticker when it comes to food, but cars, he'll try anything.
Food and friends. Well, actually, no. There's been some issues.
Well, there you go. I'm still here, mate. I must be all right.
You're still here.
I must be still
15 years of this
palatable.
rubbish. So there's something going right.
Yeah.
All right. Get in touch. 0477 657 657. Two Blokes Talking Electric Cars. Let's keep going with your calls. 0477 657 657. Rod is on the line. G'day, Rod.
Hello, Trev.
Listen, Rod, we got your text message. Now, you said Penelope Watson suggested I contact you. Is that
Penelope,
the famous Penelope with
test
a
driver?
smart #3?
Yeah, we just happen to live in the same suburb. Penelope's just down the
there you go. Word of mouth.
She's the queen of this show. She's royalty when it comes to Two Blokes Talking Electric Cars.
She's done more test drives of EVs than anyone in the universe, I think, at this point. Yeah.
So what do you do that made Penelope get you in touch with us?
Look, 6 years ago, I started with the idea, wondering how I'd charge an electric car should I buy one, because I'll ultimately need one like everybody.
Yep.
And so I live in a house without off-street car parking, and so I came up with the idea of curb charge, which really stems from the notion that I wanted to make it as close to charging for people who don't have off-street parking for those that do.
Right, curb charge.
Yeah.
Curb charge.
Yep.
So I put some drawings together, sent it up to a fabricator. He knocked it out. Of course, it was rubbish, but working at it. And then, I just kept on solving problems. I kept on dreaming up everything that go wrong with it, water and condensation, and all of that stuff. And I made it work so that, because a footpath's a terribly hostile environment for electronics, I put the charge station inside the house, and my device is a seal-welded stainless steel box.
Right.
It doesn't have any gas structure to make it work. It's entirely manual.
So this is not and so people can look this up while they're listening if they want. Curb charge, KERB, curbcharge.com.au. What we see is like a plug in the ground that you pull up, and a little pole comes out like a foot high, and that's where you plug your cable in to charge your car. Now, when I first saw it, I thought, okay, so this is like a public charging style thing, but you're saying it's actually a private charging solution. You as the homeowner have the guts of it, the guts of it in your home, and you're plumbing it out to this little outlet basically in the curb.
Look, it's a bit oversimplistic to say it's an elaborate extension, but essentially that's what it is.
Right.
It's because I went to Energy Safe Victoria and I did international testing on it. We are legal. We're 500 millimetres under the ground, which is the AS3000 standard. It's got an IP rating of 7 for water. It won't let any water in, because you can imagine a burst water main's going to cover the thing in water while it's flat in the ground.
Yep.
So, what we do is we provide the charge station, we do all the civil works, we put my device in the ground, we give the cable that's got a plug stand. What you saw when you pull it up out of the ground is the plug that you plug into the device has got a stand on it.
Okay.
And when you pull it out, it falls straight back to the ground, so it can never remain up, which was one of the requirements of Energy Safe Victoria.
So can I ask, so you, like, say, for example, I wanted this out the front of my house. I've got a driveway, but I've got a wall charger. But say I wanted to have this, say my wife or a guest might want to come over and charge their vehicle. So could I apply to my council to get this installed for my own personal use?
Look, The council that we're in at the moment is Port Phillip. I've had interest all over Australia from all kinds of councils, lots in Sydney, which is where you guys are located.
Yeah.
The one in Port Phillip says if you've got off-street car parking, you won't qualify to be able to get curb charge in. You've got to have no off-street car parking.
Gotcha.
We looked at the notion of sort of saying, well, I'm going to have all my neighbours use it that's really not an alternative.
Right. So this is private use. So this is for you. Private usage.
It's an extension cord. Yeah, right.
Okay.
Because obviously you've seen the reports of, and we've seen it in Sydney, but people running extension cords over footpaths or over trees into their car. This problem of no off-street parking is a huge one to solve, and there are some public infrastructure plans, putting them on the power poles and different things like that. But what you're addressing is an individual need, and even if there is public charging on a power pole down my street, it's not guaranteed to be for me. But here's my question. If I don't have off-street parking and I put the curb charge on the curb, there's still nothing stopping someone else parking in that spot, is there?
True, yeah.
No, of course not. One of the things that I make really clear to the people at the very start, and it's included in our documentation, if you're not comfortable about finding a car park in front of your house for 1 or 2 days a week, do not buy my device. I don't want to sell it to you because I'll be selling you a problem.
Yes.
So I never promise to be everything for everybody, just some things for some people. It just turns out there's a lot. You talked about public charging, and to be honest, the biggest barrier we've had in this, look, inventing it was one thing, perfecting it was another, putting all the work into the installation because it's all got to be done with non-destructive digging. There's a huge amount of work gone into that.
Yeah.
But that paled into insignificance in comparison to getting through the council requirements.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that. So it was Port, did you say Port Phillip?
City of Port Phillip.
City of Port Phillip.
So
how long did that so the process wouldn't have happened overnight?
Well, I've been working with them for over 3 years.
Wow. Okay.
One of the things I'd like to cover off on the public charge station model, and look, frankly, this is probably the biggest problem I'm finding. Look, it's very seductive if you're a council because it's an egalitarian solution, a public charge station model. And God knows we need public charge stations. In a rural environment, you absolutely need them. But in a city environment, the problem that people are finding, and I'm finding it from talking to the council and certainly from people, the people that have put it in have said categorically if they didn't have curb charge, they'd never buy an electric vehicle. If you're confronted with using a public charge station on a light pole that's running 7 kilowatts, it's going to take you 9 hours to charge a Tesla. If you've got an 11 kilowatt unit, it's going to take you 6 hours. If you go to a DC unit, it's going to take between 1 and 2 hours. Now, if you're in a city environment, you're going to be having to do that every week. Now, it's little wonder people aren't buying electric vehicles in a city environment. And if you look at the numbers, they're starting to support that question. I know it sounds self-serving, but it doesn't diminish the argument.
Rod, what about the suggestion of making them public, like getting the councils to back the whole rollout and putting several of these in these inner city areas where it's available to anybody? And rather than the problem that we discussed earlier was, okay, I've got a little place with no off-street parking. I want to put a curb charge out the front of my house, and 2 or 3 days a week I can't get a park outside my house. So what about the option of making this a public charging solution and dotting these along all those inner city streets? Could that be the next phase?
Well, look, I'd say really it's the same problem as I've described that goes with the light pole model. It's still a 7 kilowatt unit.
Yeah.
It was never conceived to be that way, and it brings with it all the same problems of public charging. Yeah. Because think about it logically. You've got to be able to charge people for that. So all of a sudden you've got to introduce swipe cards. Right. The electronics that have to go in have to sit in the footpath. Yeah. They will bloody well break. My device is designed to stay in the ground for decades. You buy my device. Yeah. The charge station will change, but the plug that you connected in is not going to change. Right. That's the universal plug around the country, around the world. Yep. So my device will be good for decades. Okay. It's not designed to, because it's stainless steel. You could throw it off the bloody Westgate Bridge and it won't break.
Now I'm sure you get this question a lot and don't have a direct answer for it, but try and help us and our listeners out a little bit with the concept of price, because there's no set price here because there's a lot of variables because you're coming from the home and all that kind of stuff. But I could put a wall box on. If I've got off-street parking, I can put a wall box in for anywhere between of a different brand, any brand, from $700 through to $1,500 plus installation. So now, if I need kind of that plus your extension and curb charge, what's it work out to be on average?
Okay. Look, this is the way it works. If you've got a wall box, you've got to buy the device for the figures you've chosen. You've got to get a Sparky to come in and run the power from your circuit board to wherever you put your wall box. Mm-hmm. That's running at average about $1,500. So the wall box model costs around about $3,000, thereabouts. Mm-hmm. Our device sells for $6,500. We provide the charge station, all the civil works, the cabling. The applications to the council are massive, as you can appreciate, not just the council, but Energy Safe Victoria, but style before you dig analysis, it's photographs, it's dimensional drawings. Right. We do all of that, and we charge people $6,500. If people obviously going to have to still pay the same price for the electrician to run the line. So look, if you ran a line through that and said it was about $1,500 comparable to what the wall charge is, we're about $8,000. If you factor it over decades of an electric car use, it's not so darn expensive. But ultimately, there's a lot of work that goes into it. I mean, there's a huge amount of work that goes into it. And
the concept's a good one. It's a great idea, and I've seen similar. Not the most closest thing I've seen to this in other parts of the world. I remember in Paris, they've got all the parking meters also charges as well.
Yeah, but again, you're talking about a public solution, and Rod's very focused on the private solution.
But it's all, what they've got in common is a street side solution, street side parking, which is going to be in more demand as we move forward.
Rod, it's about the ecosystem, isn't it? It's about there being solutions for public and private charging for people who don't have off-street parking, and you're trying to find a part of that.
Exactly. I don't see it being in competition with people in public charging environment. What I'm saying is that we offer an alternative, and I think it's a very good alternative. And the people that have got it in the ground really love it. They think it's wonderful. I've got people all over Sydney, lots of people over Sydney that want to get it in, but their councils are just holding everything up because they're, we've got to examine it and look at those.
God love red tape, Rod.
I really, really like the concept. And wouldn't surprise me if someone taps you on the shoulder and say, look, we want to roll out your idea on a grand scale. Will the councils, or whatever the inner city councils do, they might want to make this a solution for the future. At
least an option for people to just tip into rather than having to go. Because it sounds to me like the process of approvals and things, what you need is a council to say, here's an approved solution. If you choose to buy it, all you need to do is this one piece of paper, this one submission, and it's going to be okay because it gives people an option. But good on you, Rod, for the initiative, for the invention. It's unbelievable.
And look, it decentralises the power, because one of the problems with the public charge station model, the electrical companies have got to get the power to it for the DC unit. Now, this is connected to your house, so it's running off your own power source. If you've got solar, and in terms of cost, if you're running, like I've got a Honda Civic out the front that I drive, it's got 9 kilometres, I get 9 litres per 100 kilometres. If I go 15,000 K in that car, it costs me $2,700. If I go to a public charge station, it's going to cost me around $1,500, which is probably the majority of DC and some AC. If I charge at home off peak between midnight and 6 at 8 cents a kilowatt hour, it costs me $200.
Yeah.
Now that's available to people with wall boxes, but it's not available to people without.
Yeah.
And that's our cup of tea. So that's what we can do.
That's what you're fighting for. Good on you, Rod. Lovely stuff.
Thanks,
if people want more information, they can find you at curbcharge.com.au, KERB charge, curbcharge.com.au. Rod, thank you, mate. Appreciate the chat.
Thank you very much.
And good on Penelope for connecting us there.
Great referral there.
The legendary royalty of the show.
It's
so I mean, look, I think
that's the concept is excellent. It's a great concept.
We've really just, and I'm not trying to be annoying, but we've got to focus on his goal is private charging, not a rollout by any one of his product, because those products exist. The ones off power poles, all those things, they already exist. Yeah. This is a guy, and he makes that last point is actually his key one, is the cost of overnight electricity is the thing that makes EVs so viable for people. Yeah. But if you don't have off-street parking, you can't take advantage of it. And even if you have off-street pole charging, that's going to be more expensive than your home electricity. So how do you take advantage of your home electricity rates in an off-street parking sense, a non-off-street parking sense.
But mate, I wouldn't be surprised if councils would look at that and pinch the idea and think, well, let's roll it out. Imagine you say Council City of Sydney roll this out in Newtown.
No, but
and
they're not going to do that because they've got the power on the poles already.
I mean as a public concept.
No, but that's why they're not going to do it because it's easier to put a public thing on a pole where there's power,
maybe,
rather than having to provide power to the curb. That's the challenge of. That's why Ampol up the road here at Pennant Hills, they've got approval for a charging station, but no power's been run there yet. It's got to happen. That's what's got to happen next.
If you build it, they will come.
But home charging, the power exists at your home. You're allowed to put charger in.
No, I get it. Yeah,
unless you have no parking. So
should we say curb your enthusiasm? Curb your enthusiasm.
Well, Rod, no, continue the enthusiasm.
K-E-R-B.
Rod, continue that enthusiasm.
Fantastic.
0477 657 657. If you want to reach out, you want to get in touch, you want to talk about EVs, we're here to chat EVs whenever you want on Two Blokes Talking Electric Cars. Let's do it all again next week, Stephen.
I will be here.
Oh, will you?
I think so, yeah.
That's nice.
I'll clear my diary.